That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You didn't have to explain
the details.
it, did you?
The extra details.
You knew that you had said that such a long time ago that I would definitely need reminding. You already sensed in the Kalamazoo the strength of the force.
Happy hour, my man. Dennis.
Thank God.
What's up?
Man. Hey, man.
Hey,
man.
So, what's up in your neck of the wood?
Whew, crazy day. Busy. I actually worked all day today.
Does your wood have a neck?
Yes.
Okay. Does it have a nape? The nape of your woods?
Hey, before I forget, because I'm going to forget.
You lost it already.
No. The keywords are Old Dolio, and it's Richard Jenkins, Deborah Winger, and Evan. Oh, this young actress who was all the rage in the Ed Harrison series. What the hell was that?
Yes,
Anthony
Rachel
Hopkins,
Wood in the
Westworld.
Yes.
Yes.
And
so this is definitely homework for you because you might be able to talk about it for 3 complete episodes. The Zillionaires, yes.
Cajillionaire.
I want Cajillionaires. I want there to be some serious discussion on that.
Okay.
I want you to see
it. And if you're watching this, it must be on HBO or something.
Yes.
Old Dolio is a mix between Billie Eilish and the Johnny Depp character. In what? Huh. Yes, Evan Rachel Wood, the star, basically, of Westworld. She's from Raleigh, actually.
Is she?
Yeah.
She has a voice as deep as any man's. Huh. And in this movie in particular, she uses that lower end of her voice, was probably encouraged to do it.
Oh, this is a movie.
To Unquiet Zillionaires, yes. To a fascinating degree, and I don't know if Richard Jenkins much. He's been in a bunch of stuff as a very strong second level character most of the time, but he was the star of the incredibly hit series 6 Feet Under, where he played the Undertaker who was killed by the bus in the first episode. But he is always can be very quirky in his characters. Have you seen Witches of Eastwick?
No, but I just looked up. I did an image search on him, and he looks like he could play any member of the White House staff.
Yes. He's any man.
Time. Yes.
He's every man. He's the any man or every man.
The balding old dude that is everyone. Yeah. So this is a movie that you've seen.
Witches of Eastwick, Jack Nicholson, he's in that as well, with Michelle Pfeiffer and Cher and Susan Sarandon, all in their unbelievable
In what movie is this you're talking about now?
The Witches of Eastwick, where Jack Nicholson plays the devil, plays Beelzebub, plays a version of the evil one, which in its final...
He seems cast for that, like, perfectly.
Yes. And he images into his true self at the end of the movie, so I won't do a spoiler, but you will find it, I believe, as I did, the most unique manifestation and process for manifestation of the true nature of the evil one that I've ever seen on screen.
Huh. The title rings a bell, but I had never once came close to watching that, so that's interesting.
Well, Richard Jenkins is in that. That's the only reason I mentioned it. His character there is just as quirky and ends up, little spoiler here, being a murderer who, when he's done murdering his wife, just looks at the fireplace, realizes that the fireplace is nice and warm, and picks up the book he'd been reading before he murdered his wife, and smooths the page out and just reads the page of, it's a picture book of some kind, a huge book that he was reading before the murderous event. But it's how he ranges in that character from where he started in the church, in the opening church scene with him, to
Okay, don't tell me anymore.
Short role, remarkable journey, and a very small part of this. So there's not like major spoilers here. He's a very small part.
I think we've all
that's a good
appreciated a good book after a spousal murder. There must be a word for that.
Doesn't everybody?
Something aside, yeah. Anyway, last week I told you that we had gotten a kitten.
Yes.
And within a week, it went from hiding from us so that we couldn't possibly touch it or get to it, to climbing up the stairs of our house to sleep in my daughter's bed in 1 week. Yeah. And it's still...
They grow up fast.
It's a little hard to catch, but whenever I'm at home working and the kids are at school, it needs to be in my office, batting around with some piece of furniture in the same room. And it's just a lovable little fella. Seems to be a hit so far. Yeah. Today I took him to the vet for the first time. And the cat was upset.
No,
Did the veterinarian cry?
Yes, when she met you.
No, I mean, she was clearly smitten.
Because
But
she had heard of you.
Yeah.
Was scared.
no, but it went okay. I had to hold the little kitty down. She shoved a thermometer up its ass, but she didn't, turns out.
Can't imagine.
It's not into that sort of thing. It had the proper temperature, and it's a little bit too young to start with the vaccinations and stuff. But there is some concern that it might have some sort of parasite or something. I have been tasked with acquiring a sample of its stool.
Of its stool.
Yes, and I have to take that back to the vet.
Easier than
be
trying to
analyzed.
capture its urine. Easier than catching the urine.
Indeed, we've been as part of the you want a cat, do you regimen. We've had my kids are alternating between days of kitty litter cleaning duty, and
You know what you got? You know
what I get?
you got the cat shit blues.
Cat shit blues.
Da 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 da. Get it? Da 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 da. It's coming now. It's coming now.
Thank you, cat food. Cat
Da
shit
da
blues.
da da.
Yeah, so we've collected a stool sample that I have to take.
I
in.
went to the kitty litter. Bum, bum, da, da, da. I saw it was there. Bum, 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 bum. A long piece of shit. Bum, 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 da, da. And a dark red hair. Bum, bum, da, da, da. I didn't know bum, bum, da, 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 where that had come from. Bum, bum, da, da, da. But I tell you now, I got the cat shit blues. Because I'm thinking, dum, 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 dum. Where did that red hair come from? Do, do. Well, my baby, she got brown hair. Oh, where did that red hair come from? So,
From the red cat.
yeah. Red cat.
I mean,
I've never seen a red cat.
I hate to
Orange
call
cat.
Sherlock on you, but
What's the biggest cat you've ever seen? I saw one in Maine that
Was it
was
a-
so big that in order for it to crawl through the window to get in and out of the kind of shed room of the house where it came and went, the window had to be open halfway. It looked like a cat had swallowed whole a ham with the fat end at the cat's tail, and when the cat sat down, it looked absolutely pyramidic with its twitching tail. And I looked at it and said, oh my God, look at the size of that cat. I swear it weighed 20 some pounds. It was so big. How about you? What's your biggest cat?
that's a big ass cat. My biggest cat. This is not a question I was prepared for this evening.
You didn't get the show notes? The
I know this is all scripted, but like I'm supposed to say these words. So, the biggest cat in person that I've seen, I haven't seen that many.
yeah, in
Cats.
person. Not
On the internet, there's all sorts of weird cat.
a strike. Let me put it to you this way. What is the strangest cat you've seen in terms of its physical characteristics? That's a general one.
I might have seen one of those hairless creepers.
Oh, yeah.
That's a messed up sort of.
But if you did, it isn't something that you wouldn't remember actually seeing, and you seem unsure. You would think if you saw something that frightening that you would actually remember that you did.
Yeah, the
see
time and the place and
unless
stuff.
you were really young. Maybe
Yeah,
you were really young
and I could be conflating just photos that I've seen.
with real life. Yeah, that happens.
That's what is real, man. I don't
What is
know.
real? What's conflation? What's conflation? Think about it. What isn't conflated? Every hour is conflated into a day. How dare you?
And then there's inflation, which makes every day worth less.
And then
So-
there's degradation. What happens after that happens?
Yeah. And then here we are.
You got a lot of coats on your rack. What's the weather there? It's warmed up though, right?
Yeah, that's why they're all on the
In
rack.
your little fishing village.
Yeah.
Huh? There's
It's-
just
but it doesn't get over 75.
it's been 84, 85 this week. Hit 90 once. Humid. I put fans around the house to blow the air around even more than what the air conditioning unit. So what do you got there? A little Coke, rum and Coke.
Indeed.
How's your arm feeling?
Thank you for asking. Pretty good. My arm is doing better. Like, it no longer like hurts to sit at my desk. And for the past couple days this week, I have been able to get a fair amount of work done. I've been using my left hand for mouse movements, which has been a nice break for my right hand, but my left hand doesn't use those muscles very much, and so it's starting to hurt.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like it was an injury. And the thing about injuries of this nature that it isn't what happened just before you knew it hurt. It's what happened within the days before it hurt. 'Cause
Correct.
lots of time an injury is just absorbed, and so sometimes you got to think back. Were you reaching somewhere and pushed it and thought, oh, that's going to hurt, or maybe didn't think it's going to hurt, or used a muscle?
I just
Otherwise,
think it was like I spent 7 days working at the computer in a row.
Yeah.
And of course, that's 7 days plus the 5 days. It was too much.
Yeah.
And when we had our last call, had I gone to the physical therapist yet, or was I about to? Do you remember? I think I had an appointment to go.
You had it the next day.
Right. So I went to this place that they really specialize in work on athletes and sports and stuff. But the lady that was in there with the appointment before me was in her 60s, and she made another appointment for the next time to get whatever done to her. And so I went in, and it was this young guy who, 27 we'll call him, and he talked to me about what had happened, and then he sort of laid me down on this table and did some crazy shit to my arm and back and stuff. But it was clear to me that he knew what he was doing. He knew how all the muscles were connected.
He was searching for where the problem was specifically, what particular muscle bone group.
And there were moments when he said, okay, and now, and then he just went away mentally. He was an android sort of calculating, blah, 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 blah. And I said, and now what? And he said, hold on, I'm thinking about going through my catalog of muscles of what this could be and how I could possibly help you in this hour or whatever. And I was there for an hour, and he massaged the shit out of my arm and shoulder and right side of my back. And it felt amazing. Like, he had this vibrator tool that like was and
a handheld vibrator,
something or other,
like a flat pad.
I didn't even see it with my eyes. I was face down, and
but it fit in the palm of his hand, probably.
I don't know. It felt more like a thing that he had a drill bit handle on, but I don't know. But it felt fantastic and hurt so good, as massages often do. And while I was sitting there, I was thinking, man, my left side is getting jealous about all this attention that my right side is getting. And it was great. And we talked a bit about, he asked me where I'm from and stuff. And he talked about how now there are more and more people that live this sedentary office lifestyle, and that it's important not just to come to the physical therapist when you are hurt, but to maybe come before, and also to just going to the physical therapist and then going back to just sit on the couch isn't going to fix your problems. You have to actually put in the work to build the core muscles and blah, blah, blah. And I liked him. It had none of the sort of mumbo jumbo that some chiropractors have, where he wasn't talking about, oh, your negative energy here needs to be spread over to whatever. None of that stuff. It was clearly medical muscle group stuff. And it felt great. And I left that place with my head held high and my shoulders back and just feeling great.
You were singing. Then I woke up got no mumbo jumbo.
And then I woke up the next morning, and it felt like I had just been in a fight where someone had just pummeled the shit out of my shoulder and right side. And I was worse than I had been the whole time, just because he had done that. Like, he had maybe that's what my muscles needed, to like have the shit beat out of them so that they could then grow back stronger or whatever. I don't know. But anyway.
You got the mumbo jumbo. Yeah, that's what you got.
Yeah. And so since then.
He didn't give you no mumbo jumbo, but you got the mumbo jumbo. That awakened every nerve in all of those places that had been deadened by lack of use, and then awakened, they were infused your whole body with probably some type of endorphin or whatever. But the next day, when that receded, and you were left with the residual effects of those things being awakened, and what it took to awaken them by way of physical manipulation.
Right.
That the
like I'd been in a
wonderful effect had worn off, and it was the proverbial honeymoon is over type of thing. But then the next day better. You drank a lot of water, to do too much.
And then I also, that same day, I went to the actual medical doctor, and he gave me anti-inflammatory medicine, because he explained that even though it doesn't look like your arm is any bigger or inflamed in any way, what's actually happening is inside your arm, the muscles are inflamed. And so he gave me some anti-inflammation meds for 10 days to take.
Steroid?
I don't know.
Steroids?
No, I don't think so.
He didn't give you a shot, though, didn't he? That was it sounded like his connection to you physically was better than a shot.
No,
if you had gone just to a regular medical doctor.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is I went to before I went to the physical therapist, I went to the medical doctor, and all he did was
go see the therapist.
No, I booked the therapist before at the same time, and so the medical doctor like moved my arm all around and had me push his arm in different ways, and decided that
said you're hurt.
I wasn't particularly weak in any particular direction, nor was I in pain with any particular movement, which I already knew and I already told him, but he checked me out, and he gave me the anti-inflammation meds. And so I've been taking that, and then over the weekend I went through a little bit of withdrawal, but I managed to not use the computer at all over the weekend, and that's helped, I think.
Smart.
And not even to do research into our upcoming vacation or anything like that. In general, I think we're doing okay. But it's
that's good. I did think about you. I was a little worried, because when you can't work, it gnaws at you. It certainly gnaws at me.
Yes. It feels so. you feel so useless, right? It's like my mind is at work, but I can't actually produce the work.
And do you have a hard time relaxing and just doing nothing?
I'm pretty good about doing nothing.
Are you? I'm not.
When I want to say, okay, I'm done for the day, I'm gonna just watch TV or something, I can do that. But when I wake up the next morning, normally like my mind is thinking about ways I can make projects better and stuff, which I guess is similar to what you're describing.
Yes.
And I have so many fucking projects that, like, I would love to put 10 or 15 hours into to advance them, but I can't find it. It takes 47 hours to edit this podcast, which shit. It's
yeah. So I see positive signs that we have a cadre of committed listeners. How is our patronage coming along? Is it still at the high level that it was established at?
We can afford maybe one beer each episode, I think is where we're at.
I want you to keep my portion, as I'm sure you're already keeping a portion, so this would add to your stolen portion.
None of it pays for the actual domain name or anything every year. But hey, if someone is listening to this, hello, you there, patreon.com/happyhour. Just $5 a month. It doesn't have to be every week.
We should just tell the Pud to do it right now. Challenge him.
He's got cash he doesn't know what to do with, I imagine.
Sure he does. He does. He just drink one less beer a week. Down to 23.
Yeah, we'll get him to sponsor us.
So you know what I did the other day? I meant to tell you this.
What'd you do the other day?
So I finished up the fence, put on the gate, the sliding gate. I put the little tin roof over the top of it and put on the door handles and the black door handles and the final bracing. And it slides with one finger. In fact, if you don't prop it open with this tiny little wedge that I built, just the perfect wedge to keep the door from rolling, if you open the door and leave it, within a few seconds, it will slide to the middle. It's that loose. It's just that free. And so got all that done.
You just sneeze and
did as I wanted to do, which was rewarded myself with my first golf outing of the week, which I was committed to playing 9 holes at a local course. Didn't actually know it would happen till the day of, which was a Sunday perhaps, or Saturday. I think it was Saturday. And so I took what I could get, but when I went online, I had no choice but to sign up for 18 and thinking when I got there that I'd say online didn't let me do. So I don't want to give you $30 for 18, which isn't very much, but I'll give you 20 for 9 or whatever it is, because I haven't played yet this year. But when I got there, it was nice and cool and cloudy, sunny, and great weather, and was on the putting surface and started making some real long putts and lag putts. And wow, this is coming back.
Pulled back in.
I joined up. I just paid for the 18. Paid up for the 18. The people ahead of me were so slow, thankfully, no one behind me, that I ended up dropping a ball down every shot until I made a reasonably good shot, which would take sometimes 2 or 3 shots. But I had 5 balls in my pocket. So while I was waiting,
one time you used all 5
guys ahead of me.
Admit it. One time you got down to the last ball.
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah, and because I haven't played and I'm spraying it all over and I'm chili dipping and doing this and that and the other, but to my gratification, I did find a shot. I did the same thing with my putts, which I do when I play in a regular match. Is that I putt till I make my putt if I can within 4 or 5 tries. But anyway, so I hit some good shots. By the time I got to 9, I had hit the ball not 9 times 4 or 5, right? But 9 times 10, or 12. So what I thought initially would be exhausting just to play a normal 9, I played at least 3 times that. I played at least the equivalent of 27 holes in terms of how many times I hit the fucking ball.
Right.
I was absolutely beside myself in just, I can't play anymore. I can't do this anymore. I got to quit. And I gladly donated the cost of the 18 against the 9 because the place is back in business again. But
you got your money's worth.
Was in great shape. Oh, I was happy. And I hit a couple of pars, realistic, one off the tee, second shot on, and actually played a couple of pars. So as long as I see that over the course of 9 and that I do find the right club. I had a hard time at 150 yards out shooting uphill. One was too much, 2 other clubs were too little, so I fucked that up a couple of times. But it was really interesting to remember just how grueling and difficult the game is. And I watch golf incessantly. I watch every weekend.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
I'm amazed at the young blood that comes up. And you hear about your boy.
I know.
Jon Rahm.
Boy, he was winning the fucking tournament.
He was winning by a margin, man.
He was going to make millions of dollars.
By a margin.
And then boom, positive COVID, pack your bags.
out.
I don't know of any.
So I watched the rest.
I don't know of any COVID result that has caused that much of a financial catastrophe. Like
not directly on a one-on-one. There aren't that many sports that are one-on-one. Most are team sports. Tennis would be another one. But the remarkable thing that happened after the tournament was the playoff between 26-year-old Morikawa and 29-year-old ended up winning it. I think his name is Bradley. These are young dudes, man. 26, 32. Between the two of them, they've won a couple majors. Morikawa won, what was it, the U.S. Open? Not too long ago? Young dude. Yep. He's on pace to, at his age, to get more blah, blah, blah. And each of them made mistakes at the same holes again and again. That kept them never more than one stroke off. It was amazing.
That makes for some great TV.
This was their B game on what's for me to say, but in let me put it this way, in a couple of holes, their apparent A game failed them in a couple of holes. They were definitely playing A game golf, but
Morikawa is 24.
24? Are you sure?
He was born in 1997. How crazy is that? You were already going to the Myrtle Beach Classic when he was born. That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, and I've done so much better over the years. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it was.
He won the PGA Championship.
Who won that tournament then? PGA Championship. Who won this thing last week that John had to drop out of?
I don't know. Oh no, the Kiowa one is the crazy one that Phil
won. It was in Ohio. This was Dublin, Ohio. It's the Jack Nicklaus Memorial.
The previous winner of the PGA Championship, which is a major, was this Morikawa, and that's the one that Phil won this year at age 50.
The oldest player ever in the history of golf to win a major. Did you know that?
Yes.
Now oldest golfer to ever win a major.
Yep. He's
That's amazing.
Living in Spain, I both miss golf and watching golf on TV. Like I enjoy that when I'm stateside. Because it's at a weird hour for me. It would be like at 10 p.m. or midnight. I would have to be watching the final of the Masters or something, which I've done a couple of times, but it's just not worth the effort. But if it's a thing that's on...
I typically get my work...
on Sunday afternoon or whatever, then it's...
Well, Saturday and Sunday are good to watch. Friday's a bit early, but I will get my physical labor out of the way by 2 or 3 in the afternoon and ready for a late lunch and maybe even a beer and be done for the day. And there's nothing like turning on the PGA Tour and watching whoever is left.
Yeah, and it's
it's amazing.
It's such a great ambient thing to have on the TV because you don't have to pay attention to every single shot. But when something happens, you can perk up and go and see what just happened. But it doesn't. You can still be doing your laundry or whatever.
I meant to tell you that as far as how Kalamazoo's been, it's very hot. I don't know if I said that to you on air, but it's been in the high 80s, even 90s. And the rain then now has started every afternoon about 3 o'clock for the past 2 or 3 days. Before that, it's just no rain. And the deer, there's a very large herd of deer in our neighborhood. And I've seen as many as 20, 22 deer together in one herd, not a quarter of a mile from here in the woods. And so they spread out over the evening, and they all go in a pattern that's certainly we're studying, but they spread out, and they each go their route. And so they cover several square miles when the herd spreads out to go foraging in the night. Mm-hmm. Deer tend not to forage in groups because obviously it's why do you need competition? And so you see major deer trails where the whole herd goes on. You see these individual deer trails where the same deer night after night or night goes. One of them, or more than one, jumps over our 4-foot fence every night with ease from a prone standing position. I've seen them. They're just standing there looking, and the next thing they're on your side of the fence. They just bounded over 4 feet.
Yeah.
And my wife bought some plants, and they're picky for whatever reason, whatever attracts or detracts them. And a couple of plants, they ate every single flower off the plant. And in one particular plant that I'll remember the name of when I don't have to think of it, it was 2 feet high bought because it was a $16 plant. It was, the 6-inch or 8-inch pot, not a small little starter pot. And planted it where she had said in her garden spot. And the deer came in and ate it down halfway to the nub.
Damn.
But only a couple of plants they're doing this to. And
this is call them like rats of the forest because they're pests.
Yeah, you hear that a lot. I say that a lot about certain animals. They were there like rats. Raccoons
and
are one such.
Wasn't it like 4 episodes ago when you were telling me about this invention that would like spray the deer to just fuck with their minds whenever they came close?
Well, and I couldn't find one. The place that, listen to this interesting point. I go to the store where they were sold, Menards.
They were sold.
And I say, people I know bought this here. It doesn't seem to be on the shelf. Where is it? And the guy says, I will check. He goes to check, and not only do I notice that there aren't any on the shelf, but there's actually not a clear spot where they should be, and not a labeled spot. And he comes back and he said, yeah, we had them, but we sold out, and we didn't reorder them. And I said to him, let me get this straight. You sold out of something, and then you took it off your merchandise order?
Clearly no one wants this.
And he said, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you, man, you know what I see here on the screen. So, unfortunately, we don't sell it anymore. Who knows what that's all about. But that's as far as I went. I kind of gave up from there. But I'll go to the local hardware store and order one.
What if you went to try and get one?
That's what I need.
What if you went to try and get one and you got sprayed with water?
Would it deter me from buying it? No. In fact, that'd be a good test. Before you go to the store, you dress up. You're forced, because they're in such high demand.
Right.
You're forced to dress up like a deer and see if you can muster. See if you can stand it. That you don't bolt at the first sign of a spray of water. I am a deer.
Spread your knees. Yeah. We don't have any pest problems. Actually, our pest story for this week is that my son was invited up to his best friend's grandparents' garden to play for a bit with his best friend and another second best friend. And they spent 5 hours up there running around. And when I went up to get them, they were playing badminton, which involved mostly trying to hit each other with the badminton rackets. And then at some point they had an actual hatchet that they were like cutting things with, which they're only 8, but I guess if you survive your 8s with all your limbs having played with a hatchet, then I guess you're good to be man.
You'll have a remarkable and long life. Otherwise, but maybe not so much.
But anyway, so we went up to get him and had a couple beers with the parents there, and came back home. And the next morning, both his ankles were all super swollen. Like he had been bitten by some sort
poison ivy.
One would think, I don't know that we have poison ivy here, but we certainly have poison plants. But he was to the point where he couldn't really walk. Like he was very hobbled. And so we took him to the doctor. And because I went early in the morning, when I pressed the button to get a number that I was going to be called, rather than when I went later in the day with my arm hurting, it didn't take a fucking hour to get my number called. I was called in within 5 minutes. And when I was called in, the person there heard my problem, and what they gave me was the promise that a doctor would call me later that day. And I was like, okay, thanks. So then an hour or two went by, and I finally got a call from the doctor, and I explained what had happened. And then she told me to come in 1 hour later with my son. And so I came in 1 hour later.
The same day?
Yeah, same day. So it's pretty quick, but also like feels like it could be quicker. And then we had to wait there for 30 minutes. Like we got there right at the time that she told us to be there, and 30 minutes later we got called in. And anyway, he was given some antibiotic and cortisoid cream to rub on the affected area.
Regardless of what it was.
The doctor said that it was probably some sort of spider, because she said it looked like, if you had told me that there was a moment when the boy was like in pain and crying and running around, she would have sworn that it was like a scorpion sting. Like it was in line with that sort of level of poison injection.
Except for that fact that he didn't.
Except that he didn't notice. So we
did she rule out specifically a poisonous plant? Did she say
there was a specific point of entry that sort of turned into a little blister?
It was a sting of some kind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're pretty sure
it could have been ants. It could have been fire ants.
Yeah. So we don't really know, but
rather than spiders. But
so that day he was stuck on the sofa playing video games and watching YouTube, which is his idea of paradise.
You know the stat about spiders, right? You're never more than 7 feet away from a spider in every direction. You literally are never not within 7 feet of being surrounded by spiders, no matter where you are.
Right.
Or is that one spider within 7 feet? Are you with me? Are you? Is there a web of spiders around you, or just one within 7 feet?
A web of spiders. Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing if you're on the International Space Station, you're probably pretty well away from spiders, but. Yeah, well, that's one of those things.
300 million, right?
That's one of those statements that is not really falsifiable, because prove it. Prove that you're not.
Well, no, but there is research that it stems from. So you don't.
True.
That research isn't going to be absolute, but it'll have a certain degree of strength.
Yeah.
Is that the gold level of fidelity or the bronze level or the silver level of
I would
fidelity?
also doubt how much research is actually there.
I bet you there's more
because
than you
that
ever
feels
imagined.
very much
what could be
like
what could be more important than an insect that is within such amazing proximity to every human on the face of what?
See, this is where I have to come back and
of spiders.
This is where I have to come back and say that spiders are not insects, but
They're an
arachnids.
amphibian.
Yes,
I know that they're an amphibian.
They're fungi. There's also this urban legend or whatever that you want to call it, where people say, "Oh, did you know that like when you're sleeping, like you swallow 4 spiders every year or something like that?" And that's a thing that is also not falsifiable, and is gross enough that you want to share it, and therefore it gets shared.
Proof or no proof.
Exactly. So, like, my son has come to me with this and said, "Did you know that this is true?" And it's based on what? It's the kind of meme in the original sense of the word meme, which is just an idea that is so interesting that you want to spread it, and it
now morphed into something that's either that or is stupid enough that you want to spread it.
And so the whole I've heard the same thing about rats, that rats are always within 10 feet of you somewhere. And okay, how would I know if that's true or not?
I never heard that.
Well,
I've never heard that.
Maybe that's the thing that New Yorkers say.
Are you making it up, or did you? Or is that really one that you've heard?
That's really one that I've heard.
Rats within 10 feet of you.
Yeah.
And you believed it? It's bullshit.
I didn't believe it. I said that I heard it. So your confidence that the rats thing
you obviously
is false.
believe it well enough that you're spreading it.
No, we're on the topic of these bullshit things, but you're so confident that the rat thing is false.
Don't try to get me centered. Don't try to get me centered on what we're doing here. This is changing. This is changing every second. But we just go where it takes us. Sometimes further than other times. There's a flow. I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes.
I'm flowing.
Close your eyes.
I'm flowing.
Okay. I want you to think about a time when your hands were in something warm.
Yes. I'm there.
Warm, wonderful water.
Yes.
Then you wake up.
Oh, man.
Milk.
I just pissed myself. Damn it.
It's mother's milk. And then you cry softly.
Whoa. I feel so infantile.
Whoa. As you should. As you should. Hush. Hush now.
I just want to sleep and play with my blocks.
Shh, 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 shh. Those are blocks.
So, Dennis.
Yo.
Gösta, I think it's the way you say it.
Gösta.
So, for the listener, I emailed Dennis this week and I said, so, what sort of new things should we watch on HBO? Because that's the only thing that Dennis is able to watch on. He gets Showtime too, but I don't. And he wrote back...
Hey, man, don't turn this into something else, man.
And he wrote back, Gösta, which is this Swedish TV show. And I was like, okay. And I searched and I found it. And I watched the first episode. And then I watched a couple more. And it...
What did you think of the first one? What struck you in your memory? What in the first episode made you for sure want to watch the next one?
Well, I assumed that you had recommended it to me because you had watched more than one, but that was a false assumption.
I hadn't watched any when I recommended it.
Right, exactly. It's very interesting. The general premise is there's this psychologist, young man, who lives, I can't say by himself, who's just this young dude in Sweden somewhere. And he's so selfless. That's the word that I always come back to with Gösta. He, first of all, in the opening few scenes, we discover that he is like letting some Afghan refugee man live in his house for unlimited time, apparently. And then later we meet his girlfriend, who is she's on the depression, needy, clingy side of girlfriend.
Fascinating character, though, and I do recall, just for your imagery, the oddness of her climbing up on top of the rock in the woods and saying da 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 da, because she was truly happy at that moment, but up and down. Interesting character in that she wasn't just depressed. She was obviously like manic depressive.
And obsessively, she can't live without contact with her boyfriend. And she's... Or
watching natural habitat.
Or watching...
movies in the wild.
Yeah, tigers kill gazelle or whatever. And
a bear kill a fucking walrus.
Right. Yes. A
What?
And but then like he goes into work and he's doing his best as this psychologist for troubled youths. And he then comes, like most people, not so much in America, but in Europe, outside of supermarkets, there are often people begging for some coins or whatever the change of what you've just purchased or whatever. And he stops and says, well, what do you need? I'll go back in and buy you some food. In the meantime, hold on to what I purchased as collateral, and I'm going to go buy you something. And just...
No, he said you could have them because he replaced everything he gave her.
Yeah, right.
The bread,
yeah.
the snack.
And then like he discovers this woman that's having trouble getting home with her groceries and helps her. And it's just
and she becomes abusive to him.
Yeah.
Verbally abusive to him when he insists on being nicer and nicer. And her attitude is, get the fuck out of here, I'm going to call the police.
Right.
Which is your first impression, in my view, my first impression, that others thought what I was beginning to see, which was this guy is over the top on this.
Right. Yeah.
But the two scenes in that first episode that made me want to watch it back was the scene with the guy who tried to steal his bicycle after he helped the woman into the apartment.
Right.
And that whole back and forth there, that was hilarious. It was the first hilarity in what had been up until that point, just a dead serious observation of a kind of a likable guy. And you wondered, where is this going? Is it just going to be this sing-songy, nonchalant observation? But then the woman got acerbic, and then the guy with the bike ended up being funny. And then I think it was in the first episode, maybe the second episode, where his father shows up.
Yep.
In the second episode,
what a character.
This is what he says, that it's in my notes, my mental notes, where he says early on in the episode, I don't want to impose, and this is just because he's knocking at the door, and then he puts him in the couch, and he says, I don't want to impose, but I can't stay on the couch, and he puts him in a settee, and I don't want to impose, and then the guy goes up, and what's his name? How do you pronounce it again? Character?
Gösta or Gösta?
Gösta. Is it Joseph?
Sure.
Would it America? Sure.
I don't know.
He goes up in the attic and comes down, and then he puts his dad to bed. And while he's talking through having a little sex with his crazy little girlfriend, Dad comes in the room with a panic attack. And what he says before he climbs into bed with them is, I don't want to impose, but can I climb in bed with you for a while? And it's so absurd how he keeps saying that. I thought, oh man, this is going to be funny.
Yeah.
And then his dad, it's so... Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like 5 episodes in, I think. And it's this, in the way that British comedy does well by being like socially awkward. This
realistically absurd.
And like later there's a scene...
Odd situations.
Later there's a scene at his work where the thing that goes unexplained in the very first few minutes, where he's carrying on his bicycle a rocking chair. He like ties it to his bicycle and takes it into work. Later, there's a scene where he's got this rocking chair in his office, and he asks his patients if they want to sit on it, and some of them do and some of them don't. But then one of his colleagues comes in and sits on it and like rocks all the way back to the point where she feels like she's going to fall backwards, and she gets very upset and decides that we need to talk to the administrator about this because this is too scary for our clients to be put through. Anyway, it's very good. I'm appreciating it a lot, and it's bringing back all 12 words of Danish that I knew when I lived in Denmark and the general structure of that language. And I swear there are so many little short sentences where it sounds just like English.
Well, there
come here.
are several places in the early episodes where he's speaking English.
True. To the refugee.
He's speaking English.
Yeah. And they all speak English because this is fucking Sweden. Look, when I was in Denmark, man, I was 21, and I have this very distinct memory of I didn't speak any Danish, and it all just sounded like blah, 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 blah to me. And I remember one time I was waiting for the bus to go into work, and this fucking 7-year-old walked up, no parents around, to wait for the bus. And he said to me, and I said, sorry, only English. And he said, oh, sorry, sir, do you know what time it is? And I was like, fuck you, little 7-year-old bastard that speaks perfect bilingual. And it was just like, what? So every single, and the janitors and obviously if a 7-year-old is speaking it, but the janitors and the bus drivers and everybody there spoke perfect English. If you had to ask a question, they would understand and answer, which is why I didn't really learn any Danish, apart from like reading pizza menus. But they all can speak
Those
English.
were the days.
And even like his father later, when his father talks to Ahmed or whatever the refugee's name is, his father can speak perfect English too. So it's just the way the Scandinavians are.
I've got an episode or two in my future this evening, actually.
Well,
I don't know what
enjoy.
else. A hunk of fish, perhaps. But
hunk of fish.
good. I'm glad I did a little research on it and looked at some reviews, and thought that it was quirky. I thought it was quirky. So
I'm thinking I
also like the Scandinavian farmhouse thing that was going on.
Yeah.
That was appealing to me. That he finds this old farmhouse and lives in it. And
I'm thinking I need bigger sideburns now. Because he's got these monster sideburns in this mustache.
he does have mutton chops. He's got mutton chops and a goatee, a furry goatee.
Yeah. And
I'm getting ready for my first cross-state trip. Going to State College, PA, to see my older brother.
it's not cross, that's interstate. I guess that
Interstate.
Yes. Going to see who?
Michigan, Ohio. Let's see, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and then let's see. I go through New York. I'm gonna skip New York, Ohio to Pennsylvania. 6 hours from Detroit, and I'm 2 hours from Detroit. And then there's another 6.
Eight.
We raised a glass before for my sister-in-law Liz. Let's do it again here. She died suddenly one night, so I haven't seen him since then. So it'll be a grief-stricken holy reunion.
I have a Facebook friend that I know. I've never met in person, and I know her through a friend who was one of my teachers in high school, and he's never met her either. But just being on Facebook and seeing crap that different people post, you get to know someone. And her husband died this weekend of a heart attack unexpectedly, and it's just fuck. I don't really know you. I in some weird way love you like a friend, and
Right.
fuck man. So that's life.
Hither, thither, then gone tomorrow.
Hither, thither, then gone tomorrow.
Then gone tomorrow.
To wither, hither, and thither. Either to wither, hither, thither.
Tick tock. Tick tock.
Yeah. Hey, listener, as you're listening to this, you're slowly dying.
Tick tock. Tick tock. Tick tock. Tick tock. Tick tock. You got the mama jumbo. Tick tock. You got the pea stone pie. Tick tock. You got the mama jumbo. Tick tock. You got the pea stone pie. Where will that red hair come from? Oh, from the mumbo jumbo. You got the mumbo jumbo.
See you next week, my friend.
You got the mumbo jumbo. You got the pie stone pie. You got the mumbo jumbo. You got the pea stone pie.
Later, bro. Okay, that's it for episode number 114. You can find the show notes with links to the movies and TV shows we talked about at happyhour.fm/114. And as we mentioned, it would really make this show a lot easier to make if you could go to patreon.com/happyhour and buy us around. We would love to get feedback from you. You can send us messages there as well. And we'll see you next week.